I'm standing in the Botanical Gardens in Suva, the capital of Fiji, and I've just been bitten by a mosquito, and that's a problem. It's overcast today. I've used personal insect repellent, and I still got bitten. Anyway, there you go. It's been raining a lot, and if you know Suva, like Suvans know Suva, you'll know it rains a great deal here in Suva. It's on the windward side of Fiji, and it just seems to attract a lot of rain. And it's been particularly wet for the last couple of weeks now. It's, you know, oh, anyway. Right, today I am taking you on a journey through downtown Suva. It's not going to cover all of downtown Suva. I'm bookending this journey with a start here at the Botanical Gardens, the Thurston Gardens, and we are continuing through along Victoria Parade, along Scott Street, over to the Iwi tree, the iconic Iwi tree. Now, let me tell you a thing or two about the Iwi tree. The Iwi tree is a Polynesian chestnut tree, or Tahitian chestnut sometimes called, and it's one of the most iconic features of Suva. It's just it was a much bigger tree at one point. It's smaller now, well, it's taken a battering recently. The last cyclone to hit Fiji earlier this year was Cyclone Ana, and it brought down a part of the Iwi tree. But it's really iconic, and I'll tell you a bit more about it later. I mean, it's almost as iconic as the Sydney Opera House is to Sydney, or Tower Bridge is to London. You know, it really is very iconic. So we're going to start here at Thurston Gardens, and I'm scratching myself with these mosquitoes. And I'll tell you a little bit about Thurston Gardens. It was named after the British consul to Fiji before Fiji became a colony, and this chap was called Thurston. He was the advisor to Thukenbau during his so-called period when he'd formed his own government, and that was before Fiji became a British colony. So he was quite instrumental in Fiji becoming a British colony, and he was also a keen botanist. So he collected lots of plants and things, this, that, and the other. So this was named after him. And behind, well, I was going to say behind me, it's behind the camera, just in front of me, is the famous Mark's clock. Now, I've just noticed something, and that is the clock is actually telling the correct time. It's 11:05, and that's amazing. That every time I've seen that clock in the past, it has never worked. It's never told the time. You know, I'm amazed. But there you go. So right, we're about to kick off. But let me just tell you a bit about Thurston Gardens. This used to be the site of Suva village. This was the original village. This is the original place where the village was located, and Suva village gives its name to Suva, the capital of Fiji, and of course, you know, there is no trace of it left now, but it would have been a ring-fenced village, like most Fijian villages, and it would have wooden palisades, and it would have had a moat around it, but none of that's left, and Suva was relocated towards the end of the 19th century. It was relocated to a place just outside of Suva, near Lamy, and so yeah. So this is it. This was the original site of that village, and a bit of it extended next door. Over there in that direction are the grounds of the president's the government house. Which is now the state house for the president of Fiji. It used to be the state house for the governor generals of Fiji, and then before that, before Fiji became independent, it was the state house for the governors of Fiji. And it's a building whitewashed building, lovely white stuccoed building that's existed on that site. It was the original government house was destroyed in the fire in 1921, and I think that one dates from either that period or a couple of years afterwards. But yeah, so that's this area very briefly, and let's continue to our next stop. Okay, I'm just across the road from the Botanical Gardens, and I'm at Albert Park Stadium, where there's a cricket match going on. Well, there's two cricket matches going on actually. There's one over there, and there's one over here. Anyway, yeah, there was a lot of cheering going on a few minutes ago. It was hilarious. Okay, so these are the teams. And I should mention that the Easter cricket season just kicks off. The Easter cricket season has just kicked off, and it's and this is a feature that's not often thought about when you think about Fiji, and that is when you think about Fiji, you think about the rugby teams, you know, the sevens team, the 15s team, and even the rugby league side. Yeah, so when you think about Fiji, you think about rugby. And you don't think about cricket, but cricket is the #1 sport in the eastern part of Fiji. It's played out in the Lau group of islands, like Lakemba, and some of the smaller islands like Oniata. And so so you've got these teams. There's a big competition taking place this weekend. So anyway, we've got so we started off at Thurston Gardens, and just across from me is the famous Grand Old Lady of the Pacific, one of the most famous hotels, as rich in history and as famous as the Raffles Hotel in Singapore is the Grand Pacific Hotel. Oh, hello, Uncle. How are you, Uncle? Okay.
Have a blessed day.
Yes, you too, Uncle.
Very nice.
Thank you, Uncle. That gentleman there works at the food truck, where I get a lunch meal every so often, on which I've done a vlog as well. Anyway, over there is the government buildings, and we'll stop in front of the government buildings. So it's all happening here. This is there's a lot going on. Hello, dear. How are you? You follow cricket? You do? Okay. All right. Oh, I see you've got the cricket badge. Okay. All right. Look at that lady. I thought she was saying yes. She watches cricket. She was just saying that for the sake of it. But the other lady was wearing a cricket jersey. Anyway, so we're walking along Victoria Parade, and behind me, much further in that direction, in fact you could probably just about see it, at the start of Victoria Parade, named after Queen Victoria, is Queen Elizabeth Drive. Now I don't know what it was called before that, but it was named after the Queen, the present Queen, the current British monarch. It was named after her In either 1953, when she toured Fiji during her coronation tour of the Commonwealth, or when she toured a select group of Dominion countries in the Commonwealth in 1977 during her Silver Jubilee. So I'm not sure which of those, on which occasion. I think it would have been earlier actually, back in 1953. I'm sure it's, but anyway, here we are in front of the government buildings. And I'll take you to these two statues that have had a bit of a makeover recently. Now, this statue here is of Ratu Salala Sukuna. He was, I said he's had a bit of a makeover. The medals on his coat have been painted in some colours. It used to be just just painted black before, but now some parts of the statue have been highlighted in colour. Anyway, just over here is in this small lily pond. There you go, there's a bit of a poor excuse for a lily pond. This is the statue of Ratu Epenisa Seru Vakambao. This is the chap who was who handed Fiji over to Queen Victoria in 1874. He'd been pressing for Fiji to become part of the British Empire before that, but with the assistance of with the assistance of Thurston, the British consul, but I think it was somebody else who was quite instrumental. But anyway, so there you are. That's Vakambao statue, and it says Vakambao, and that there it says over there, it says Victoria, and that is the Fijian spelling of Victoria. So that's the chap, and he's had a bit of a makeover as well. His hair and his beard have been painted white. And so that is the statue of Vakambao. And over here is the government buildings, and there was a chap called Philip Snow who he was a colonial administrator in Fiji in the 1950s, and he wrote a book called The Years of Hope that I read towards the end of the 1990s, and he talked about the government building as being an attractive building that he admired. And I mean, each to their own, I suppose, but I don't see it myself. But anyway, there is another story. He was a man who he loved Fiji. You know, he loved its traditions, its history, its heritage. He loved bringing people together, with the exception of a few people. And one of those persons was my grandfather, who he didn't get on with. And he mentions Sahu Khan in his memoirs as somebody, you know, he got on with everybody in Fiji. You know, he was a great pacifier. But one person he didn't get on with was my grandfather. So that's my little claim to fame. So there you go. That's the government buildings there. Right, let's continue along. Let's continue along Victoria Parade. Hi, how are you? It's a lovely lady there, very friendly. And we've got Suva House on our left here, and this is the I.B.Tauris Land Trust Board. This is the institution that's responsible for managing the affairs of indigenous affairs in respect of land. So, what I used to remember as a boy, I used to remember coming to Suva with my parents, and there was the ever-present smell of copra being roasted at the docks. You could smell it all the way over there at the Grand Pacific Hotel, and but I mean that's gone. You know, it's you can't smell any copra now. There's a strong nutty smell. But what is also what I remember from back when I was a boy, and even it's even true now, is that there you got one of those famous Fiji buses. Okay, all right. Anyway, as I was saying, I remember as a boy the streets of Suva used to see all these Pacific Islanders from Tonga, Samoa, from the Marshall Islands, from the Federated States of Micronesia. All these various Pacific communities would be thronging the streets of Suva, and you would see them on a Saturday in their colourful clothes. More often not traditional clothes. And so you still see that today, and that's... Hello, where are you from, dear?
I'm from Rambi.
Rambi Islander. Oh wow, I'm going to go out there one of these days. Yes, yes. That's many people from Nauru, isn't it? All yeah, who've settled out there. I'll go there one of these days. All right, thank you for that, dear. You too. There you go. That's a Rambi Islander, a Polynesian lady. When they did the phosphate mining, I hope I've got this correct, but I think it was when they did the phosphate mining out in Nauru. They relocated people from, well, not all of the people, but some of the people from there to an island just after the Second World War, an island in Fiji. And these people are now known as the Rambi Islanders. They live on an island called Rambi Island. But yeah, this is the Suva. Yeah, there's a nice, interesting looking colonial building there, derelict, not being occupied. But this is the Suva that I remember when I was a boy. You know, running into Samoans with their distinctive clothes, and you know, their particular way of dressing, and you know, it really excited me. I was so gripped by all this colour and all this variety and this cosmopolitan feel to Suva. And Suva's still like that. It's very much a cosmopolitan city, and that's because of the university. Well, not just because of the university, but there is the University of the South Pacific is based here in Fiji, in Suva. But it's also because all these other institutions involving cooperation amongst Pacific Islanders, all these other like the South Pacific, oh, what's it called again? Oh, I forget what it's called. But all these other institutions have their all these other countries have their cooperate with fellow islanders in the South Pacific through institutions that are based here in Suva. So there's a real feel for the whole of the Pacific here, and when I say the Pacific, it's a part of the Pacific that's called Pacifica. Well, it's now known as Pacifica, and it's Melanesians, Polynesians, Micronesians. How are you, Uncle? Okay? And they're collectively known as Pacifica. And I'll tell you a quick story. I ran into a lady many years back who looked, or rather sounded, as if she was from the Philippines. And I asked her if she was from the Philippines. She said she was, and she shrunk back in horror and she said, no, I'm from the Federated States of Micronesia, which is close to the Philippines, but you know, there's a very firm line of demarcation. There's a strong mental line that separates the Philippines from the Federated States of Micronesia. She said, no, we're all Pacific Islanders. To suggested that she's from the Philippines would have relocated her in Asia, but no, they're Pacific Islanders. She was really nice, lovely lady, but she was quite adamant. Sorry. Now, I should have mentioned earlier that used to be the offices of the Suva City Council. It was called Victoria Memorial Hall, and of course, you know, you've got a reference to Queen Victoria again. But now the Suva City Council has been relocated next door. It's got this rather hideous building in which it's now located. But there you go. So these restaurants here. And I'll tell you another story very quickly. There are plans. There were plans by the New Zealand government to reclassify Fijians of Indian origin living in New Zealand as Asians. But they resisted that. They said, no, we're not Asians. We are Indians or Fijians of Indian ancestry from the Pacific, from Fiji. We are Pacific. We have a Pacific heritage. We don't have an Asian heritage. So you can see how these things work. Now, there's another colonial building just over there, and we're just leaving Victoria Parade. Hello, Bosso, how are you? We're just leaving Victoria Parade now, and yes, sorry, I think we've just left Victoria Parade, and this is now Scott Street. Now, Scott Street, now I mentioned earlier, I want to get across the road, I want to show you something. You can probably see it from here anyway, so maybe I will stay on this side of the road, but just across from me is another Iwi tree. And that Iwi tree, and over there in the distance is the, over there in the distance, that's another Iwi tree there, which is about the same age as the Iwi tree that we're going to finish this vlog at. Now, let's see if I can get across without being run over. Okay. Yeah, so this Iwi tree here is significant in many respects, but it's not as significant as the Iwi tree we're about to see. It's not iconic. Let's say that. The Iwi tree we're about to see, and where we will finish this vlog, is the iconic Iwi tree, which has gripped the attention of the nation, but especially the people of Suva, and I'll tell you why. So this Iwi tree is also significant in that the old shoreline of Suva used to start just over here somewhere. We've got this statue of Ratu Salala Sukuna, and I'll tell you a bit more about him later. Fascinating chap who spoke in the bell-like tones of an English squire. His English was absolutely impeccable, and he spoke like an Englishman too. But anyway, I'll do a separate vlog on Ratu Salala Tukuna a bit later. But this is the part that's named after him. Just over there in the distance is Suva Harbour, the great brooding harbour. And you can see there is a container ship over there. And Tico's famous steakhouse on that boat just over there. That's been there for a long time. It's certainly when I used to live in Fiji many years ago, it was there. And there's a boat over there. It seems to have Chinese writing on it, but it seems to be just rotting away in the sea. It seems to be listing to one side. But let's see if we can quickly get across to have a look at that magnificent harbour. This is a busy road, and I'm going to have to be a bit careful here. So we'll do a bit of a run across. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is the harbour. Now I've taken a slight detour from the vlog. Sorry, from the tour. It was supposed to start at Thurston Gardens, the botanical gardens, and end at the ivy tree. So I've just diverted from my course very briefly because I wanted to show you this harbour, which I think is one of the most glorious harbours in the world. The Sydney-siders rave about their harbour, but do they have the majesty of those hills and mountains in the background? I don't think they do. This is really one of the great natural beauties, this harbour. This harbour has a dark brooding passion. You know, you've got those wonderful hills that I've mentioned in one of my vlogs, that Rupert Brooke, who came to Fiji before the First World War, was really taken in with those hills, the greenery, their presence. And he talks about how, in the dusk they had this sense of, almost of menace and the sort of menace which you find exhilarating, not threatening, but sort of, it reaches you deep into the soul, and it sort of, it makes all sorts of things possible. Anyway, look at that rusting hulk over there. I think it's probably been abandoned. It's listing to one side, but it's also sinking. There's a big gap in the middle there. There's a container ship there. There's I don't know what that is over there, but that's the wharf, King's Wharf. And you'll find that there's a lot of this kings and queens stuff going on in Fiji, because it's usually a reference to the British monarchy. And I'm very surprised actually, there is not a statue to Queen Victoria. But anyway, we're going to get back on let's get across here. Going to get back on the trail to the iconic ivy tree. And the ivy tree is just around the corner. I'm having to walk. I love this park. Could do with a few more indigenous hardwoods, but you can't have everything in life, can you? Anyway, so that's the YMCA over there. Back on the main road, and I'm going to cross over again because I want to. Now you can see the ivy tree is clearly visible over there. It's in an area called the ivy Triangle, and Hi, how are you? So the Eevee tree we're approaching the Eevee tree now. This is where we'll finish this vlog. As I said, I'm not covering all of Suva because that would take hours. But I'll take it in, in chunks. So this is the first installment. This is the first chunk of. Hello dear, how are you? This is the first chunk of the tour of Suva, and we will end here. And there'll be a little story to end with about the famous Eevee tree. And I think I can start telling you the story now. And that is the Eevee tree, or any Eevee tree, any Polynesian chestnut tree, only lives for about 80 to 90 years. But this one is at least 133 years old. And it's been the center of life in Suva ever since that time, ever since it was first recorded in a photograph. And it was badly affected by Cyclone Ana, which hit Fiji recently, and so we've got it's being looked after by a tree surgeon. The famous Eevee tree.
No, you're wrong. The famous pose is there. Fiji British Crown Colonial, see?
What's that?
That's the famous.
I know.
This one is only the tree. One day go down.
It will do.
One now.
Okay. Yeah, I know, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's famous, that one.
Yes,
Not
okay.
This one gonna go down next
That's
day.
not an Eevee tree.
That one will be still there.
Yeah, I know, yeah, I know.
Oh,
Yeah.
you up to the tree.
Okay.
over 100 years old.
Yes, yeah, that's right. It's over 100 years, like the gentleman said. It's over 100 years old. It's 133 years old, and that's why it's become, its iconic status has really blossomed in recent years. Now, the other thing that's significant about this spot, apart from the Eevee tree, and there was this monument erected here where it says public land sales on this spot 1880. Then it says Fiji British Crown Colony 10th of October 1874, and Ross and Cargill, they were two famous missionaries whose diaries are a very good read. And then you've got Suva proclaimed capital of Fiji in 1882. The previous capital was in Levuka. Anyway, so that's the famous Eevee tree. Still hanging on, only just, being looked after by a tree surgeon. So presumably it's going to go into surgery. And that's it. There'll be some bonus material. There'll be some bonus material in this vlog, and that was a few days ago when I came through Suva, through downtown Suva, and there was a parade. There was the what they call the changing of the guard, which happens once a month. That was last Saturday, so you'll see that as bonus material. And so until the next time, take care and stay safe.